Teddy, darling, are you ready? Are you ready? We're not sure. Okay. Um, would you like to start or shall I? Okay. All right then. Here we go. And hello and welcome to Pet Talk with me, Anna, and who are you? Do you want to tell everyone? Teddy. Okay, wonderful. And today we have a wonderful guest. Do you remember her name? Yeah, you do?
Yes.
Do you want to say who it is? It is Ruth Milner. Welcome, Ruth.
Hi, Anna, and hi, Teddy.
He's got a friend with him today. This recently came up on the sofa, so
He pronounced my name wonderfully.
yeah, an excellent pronunciation. Given that English is his foreign language, so um, well, welcome, Ruth. I invited you on because you are working with some fascinating technology to help our beautiful animals, and it involves light. So, would you tell us about that, please?
Yes, yeah, I'd love to. So, the light that I have been very blessed to introduce to lots of therapists and pet guardians around the UK is predominantly red and near infrared light. The scientific term for this type of light therapy is photobiomodulation. That's the kind of adopted and agreed scientific term for it. And yeah, as always, there's probably a lot more studies on, uh, in cell cultures and human subjects. But I've had the privilege of being able to just start with introducing it to animal professionals and say their clients, animal guardians, since 2013 predominantly, because that was the only piece of kit that was licensed to be sold here in the UK. So it's been an incredible journey from just being able to promote it for wound healing and all sorts of soft tissue injuries, musculoskeletal injuries. But with um, my love of all things light therapy, colour therapy, I've gone on to actually get a lot more knowledge about the power of light and colour and of course sound and all that frequency healing. And what quite early on in the sort of feedback we were getting from some of the practitioners was that it has also has an incredible calming effect on them as well. So it's not just physiological, it's also emotional and psychologically in animals. And the first case that came to us with that sort of effect was from a wonderful lady who now teaches for the Shelter Animal Reiki Association, um, for which is it's all for shelter animals. And she took the device. Oh, I think it was back in probably 2015 out to a charity organisation in India called Tolfa. And when she came back, she was explaining how they'd used the devices just to bathe the animal, these tiny street pups that had been rescued that had completely shut down. And of course, it's a race against time in those sorts of situations, especially with puppies when they come in to a shelter malnourished. And the volunteers that work there, it's as I say, they need to try and be able to get these closed off rescued animals round to being handled, to feed and everything, because they've got hours before they slip away, unfortunately. But what Alison actually said to us was that there was some really severe cases of very malnourished and very poorly street pups that came into Tolfa while she was there with a group of students, teaching this animal Reiki that they do, which is all distance Reiki. But they decided to apply the red and the near infrared light and just gently bathe, so they weren't touching the puppies in the enclosure. And from their experience of how long it usually takes for these animals to come round, to being handled and being cuddled, it cut that time down by 20, a good sort of 24, 48 hours, which made the difference in getting some food down their necks. And Alison was pretty much blown away, I think, with the how profound it was with just literally bathing these traumatized animals in the red light. She'd never seen it before. I think they use blue light as well, because quite often they came in with infected wounds and that sort of thing. So there's sometimes a bit of a combination of blue and red. But yeah, the red did certainly have that kind of calming effect on them, which was a real eye-opener for us. So from that time, I've obviously teach practitioners about the physiological effects that have been scientifically proven with, say, the wound healing, the tissue healing, and using it for muscle recovery and that sort of thing. But it's been interesting, really, that lately we've been getting more and more inquiries from behaviourists, because I think the word is now getting out that even with leaving the physiotherapy and the rehab side, the other practitioners not practitioners, but behaviorists and maybe even trainers are recognizing that, it can be the light can be something that they can put into the mix with difficult and challenging situations for the calming. So that was that benefit was really what I wanted to bring over today, because I think probably there's quite a number of listeners that have heard about red light therapy for the physiological effects and the healing, that side of thing. But it's I think we're just scratching, or we've just at the tip of the iceberg, really, with what the possibilities are with this type of light therapy.
You may hear Teddy in the background. It seems that he's quite interested in what he's hearing. Are we not finished with the conversation? Did you have anything else you wanted to say? Maybe, yeah. Yeah, he's feeling very chatty today. Normally he finishes his introduction and he's done, but today he's wanting to.
That's good. Maybe he wants to know more.
Perhaps he would like to have some red light therapy himself. So, okay, just thinking back to everything you've said, it's got a track record, a good track record in healing physical wounds. So this would be things like torn ligaments, muscular stuff, that kind of
thing. Yeah. Quite often you hear of surgery having to take place on torn, cruciate ligaments surgery, IVDD, where they get slip discs. That's prevalent in little dachshunds. I think it's 1 in 4 dachshunds can end up with a diagnosis of IVDD, and other little dogs as well. are very vulnerable. But yeah, a lot of these musculoskeletal issues that, lumbosacral disease, hip dysplasia, elbow dysplasia, we're seeing it more and more. That's the trouble. Oh, bless him. Yeah.
Decided to have a little.
Is he saying, "Oh, I'd like to have a red light therapy session, mummy"?
I've not seen him this excited about anything, actually. There's something going on here.
And combined with massage, not all sorts of different canine massage therapy, just as a relaxing session. It can be very easily integrated by a professional, and also the owner as well, if you're learning some gentle massage techniques. And a lot of the time we know that the animals will perhaps see you using it, and they'll come up and they'll ask to have a session as well. So it doesn't have to just be used when things go wrong. It's for general relaxation and wellness, and proactive. I think there's a word now that comes up quite a lot from the physiotherapists. They call it prehab. So you can pre-treat.
Oh, that's interesting. So if you have an animal who is very active and involved in things like agility or fly ball and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we saying that regular treatments could help to strengthen their overall well-being and prevent injury?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point. You say strengthen, so we can't say that the application of the red light therapy will help with any strengthening. It's the exercise that does that. But what it does seem to do is improve the mobilization of joints, and the get a better range of movement. It's part of the warm-up program, really. The agility community, even at highest level of championship, world championships and team GBs, they're taking their devices out with them. Flyball as well, and all the people running with their dogs, canicross, as well as all the sled dog sports as well. So yeah, they're on board with the idea of putting it into the mix of all that important preparation for sports, either competition or just training sessions, actually, alongside the nutrition and hydration and conditioning, canine conditioning, or also in equine sports as well. But when the physios talk about prehab now, I think sometimes they are also talking about preparing prior to maybe elective surgery that needs to happen. If there's, say, an op that needs to be performed for maybe some joint, then we know that we have a better recovery if we're going in for some sort of orthopedic surgery, if we can be as well and as strong as possible before we go in. And again, it's all helps to actually prep all that elective surgery function, the cells in that area that's going to have the surgery performed on it. Gives the body a bit of a head start as well before the trauma takes place, and then throughout the wound healing, and then beyond for the rehab. So I think there's more evidence coming out for it to be used in that way. And I certainly encourage individuals, they say, oh, my dog's got to go in for cruciate ligament surgery or whatever. But also maybe the surgery route won't necessarily be an option, and the choice is to use other modalities for what they call conservative management. So with a good exercise program, and the animal guardians are educated about the do's and don'ts if there's joint dysfunction and dysplasia and that sort of thing. So conservative management programs can be a great option when surgery is not really a great idea. And yeah, so there's all sorts of ways where practitioners can integrate it into practice, and other pet professionals, as well as actually in the home for a lovely, and it helps with that bond with your animal. I mean, it's obviously a lot of animal owners want to be part of a recovery. They want to be included in part for recovery program after injury or surgery or whatever. But also because most of the time your dogs and your cats and other little furries, they like cuddles and like to get up close, and it's great bonding time for the pet carer and the animal itself. And quite often they will lay there for a long time and have it applied, and they will, when they're done, they'll get up and move away.
Well, they generally know when they're onto a good thing, so that's not entirely surprising, is it?
Mm.
I think what I'm hearing from you is that there is something about this light, this healing light, that helps with resilience. So it's bolstering resilience for animals who are in high impact sports, and also helping recovery from surgery, etc. Because again, it boosts that resilience, and perhaps it's stimulating the natural healing process as well that's happening.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the key mechanism really is happening at a mitochondrial level in the cells. So in that sense, we know our muscles are jam-packed with the mitochondria for that energy production. So that's why it's considerably beneficial with sporting animals for the warm-up and the recovery process. But essentially, what you're doing is these wavelengths of light have been extensively studied to find out what sort of conditions it can be beneficial for, but also to establish what all the mechanisms are when the light is applied onto the body. So the primary mechanism really is happening at the end of the cellular respiration process, for the at that final stage of cellular respiration, there's an enzyme that bonds with oxygen to help with the firing up of cellular energy, and that's really what has been the most well established mechanism, is that mitochondrial stimulation. So a lot of the time, I think with illnesses and conditions, that we can put sometimes down to mitochondrial dysfunction or low energy. If there's no cellular energy, there's nothing happens. But this firing up of the production of cellular energy in all the cells that play a role in the regeneration of the body and the natural healing process, all these cell types are fired up, and by doing that, you could say, well, if primarily what's happening is this firing up of cellular energy, well, what's possible? It, what can it be used for? It's got to, it can be used for all sorts of conditions. But what it essentially does initially with the animals, we know that the pain relief effects kick in very, very quickly. It gets on top of that acute inflammatory stage when an injury happens, whether it's a surgical trauma or some sort of accidental injury. And inflammation is a very important part of the natural healing process, but you don't want it to go on for too long. What happens with all the cells that respond to the light and are fired up with how the cells are supposed to function naturally is that you get in some circumstances you will get a much faster healing process, especially in the older animals that have, where maybe circulation and lymphatic system is a little bit sluggish, or if they've got conditions which slows down the healing, which is what happens very often, say, with individuals that have diabetes, is the natural healing is very impaired. So it fires all that up, and it can be used throughout that stage of beyond inflammation, where new cells are being formed, new blood vessels and new tissue is being formed, all the remodeling. So what is known about the benefits of red light therapy is how it regulates with all the new collagen fibers. And unless you're lucky enough to be to have maybe stem cell treatment, which is very becoming more and more popular, where, I mean, obviously stem cell treatment means that you repair with the original tissue that has been damaged. With the normal healing process, without that stem cell intervention, your body is healing essentially with scar tissue. So you want to make sure that as that scar tissue is forming, you want to keep it as mobilized as possible, and adding red light therapy or photobiomodulation into the mix on a regular basis, even every day, will help all that remodeling phase and assist in the physiotherapy and the recovery, whether you're at a stage where you're starting to do whether you're starting to bring in exercises to build that strength up again post injury. So yeah, it can be used beyond that rehabilitation stage, as I say, for just long-term pain management. We know our pets have sadly got suffering from arthritis just as much as we are these days, so it can be a great alternative to run alongside medication if that's if medication has to be the choice, because of the severity of the pain. Or what often happens is that maybe photobiomodulation is applied on a regular basis before the pain progresses to the level where they possibly have to go on pain meds, and it can reduce the dose of pain meds. So I mean, there are complications sometimes with long-term pain medication. At an end-of-life situation, that medication could well be the best option, especially in palliative care. But for younger dogs, and we are seeing more and more joint degeneration in some of the younger animals, and quite rightly, I think pet parents need to be concerned about putting their younger animals on pain meds right from the word go. So Yeah, it is a great option there if you want to take and explore a drug-free pain route.
So, what about chronic issues like allergies and things like that? Because if we look at them as being also a form of inflammation in the body, would it be helpful for something that's more systemic, or is it simply for the more mechanical side of things? Although you did mention diabetes, which is not so mechanical.
No. Yeah, allergies is an interesting one. I mean, we've had some, we know in humans that it can extensively help with calming down allergic rhinitis. But if you're talking about skin allergies, which again we are seeing more and more, I I we have to say that the application of red light therapy can certainly help to calm down the acute symptoms, but sadly, unless you can get to the root cause of that allergy, then it's not going to be a cure. But the itchy skin, we work with another product that is very good to also calm down in a topical way. And then what could be applied is regular red light therapy preventatively. But I know a lot of the skin allergies that we're seeing is seasonal. Our Cocker Spaniel in the family, she tends to get a bit of flare up, when it's this time of the year with the grass, and she doesn't get hay fever so much, but it's an itch. And I speak to no end of pet parents that have got these issues with their dogs. So yeah, to be fair, the red light therapy is going to help with those really annoying itchy symptoms. But yeah,
it's soothing, but of course we need to understand the root cause, because that's the inflammatory issue.
The acute inflammation and chronic inflammation, actually, as long as you can use it on a regular basis. Going back to allergies, actually, again, we're seeing more and more maybe food allergies where you have to it takes a little while perhaps for pet parents to realise that their dogs have got IBD, for example. So our own personal experience, that was the case with our young Cocker Spaniel, and it turns out that she's highly allergic to chicken. We got the help of a very lovely holistic vet that's probably well known to a lot of listeners that are engaged with the raw pet medics. But yeah, we were very fortunate that we got a diagnosis that she'd got IBD, and her gut was very inflamed. There was this one occasion where it was the final straw. She in the middle of the night, she had a terrible acute attack, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, where she was just being sick. And I have to say, in that situation, if we hadn't have had our little red light device to calm down all the pain that she must have been experiencing in her abdomen, I don't know what we would have done, really, because it's not very often the vets actually come out middle of the night. But yeah, that was the worst thing about IBD. When they have a flare up, they eat something that they're highly allergic to. And she was only, I think she was about 18 months at the time, so she wasn't very old. Using the red light within half an hour and on her abdomen was an absolute godsend to calm everything down, stop her shaking, and we obviously used it because you've got to, in that situation, you've got to repair the inflamed gut. So the most important thing is obviously to eliminate what they're allergic to, but also the inflammation that they've got. And it takes weeks with that sort of condition, unfortunately, to repair the gut with just finding which single proteins they can eat. Yeah, we've got her right now, and yeah, she's got a very, very strict diet, very strict with her treats. But she doesn't do pain very well. I don't know what Teddy's like.
I don't think any of them do pain very well. They are very dramatic. Experienced dogs. They let you know exactly what they're feeling,
Yeah,
and leave you in no doubt. Um, on the other hand, there are times when they are in pain and nobody would ever know because they're playing normally, they're doing everything that you would expect because it releases endorphins and they know it.
yeah.
And
It's that also that adrenaline.
yeah, exactly. It
Yeah,
takes the pain away. But when they are expressing, then they generally express very clearly how they're feeling. And I think, irritable bowel disease is no fun. And your poor little one was very lucky that you had a remedy at hand to help her through that very difficult night. So I'm just wondering about other things like eye issues, like glaucoma, cataracts, that kind of thing that is showing up in dogs. Would this be of any benefit to them?
we haven't had any documented cases or feedback on cataracts, but what I can say is that there is now licensed photobiomodulation devices for human macular degeneration. But we've had some very good results for eye conditions like corneal ulcers, cherry eye. And the great thing is that, of course, the type of device that I'm involved in is not laser, so there's no harm to the eyes. It's the incoherent medical grade light emitting diode technology that is also it's proved to be as good sometimes as the low level laser devices, but it makes it much safer for those sorts of applications. So yeah,
It's
horses,
interesting.
corneal ulcers in horses, cats, dogs. Yeah,
Well, it was purely, my thinking was that we know that um, the blue light of computers has a detrimental effect on our eyes.
mm.
I was wondering whether this could have a beneficial effect on eyes. And it seems that it's being used for macular degeneration.
Yeah.
A good start.
Well, we've just had. I'm very fortunate that we are a sponsor to a specialist veterinary nurse association called AZEVN, and I'm very lucky to go along to their conference at West Midlands Safari Park every year. And the vet nurses, some are in normal practices, but some also work in wildlife centres and zoos. And we've just had some really exciting news about the application of the red light on bats. That particular case that we've just actually put onto our website is all about using it for the horrible condition that bats are presenting with, which is called wing wasting, where it attacks the membrane of their wings and eats away at it. But yeah, there's a big there's a bat rehabilitation centre in Ireland that has been absolutely blown away with the results, and that is just bathing them in the light. But there were initial concerns with bats because of their sensitivity to light, but we've checked out which wavelengths they are most sensitive to, and it falls into the UV end, the blue light end, not the red light end. So you're at the each end of the visible light spectrum. So UV is the blue wavelengths and going into ultraviolet, but our device is the long wavelengths.
So this is a kind of speculative question, and it's about the amount of time our pets spend indoors. And when we think about animals in the wild, they are exposed to the sun all the time. And working dogs also get quite a lot of exposure to sunlight. And I'm wondering, because we know that for the human side of the equation, we need to be in the sun in order to produce vitamin D, etc. And also it helps our mood to be outdoors and be exposed to natural light. So I'm wondering, is there something here that we need to be exploring? Because so many of our animals are spending time indoors with us rather than being outside. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting question actually, because obviously it's not just our domestic pets, but in captivity, you've got these what they call these tanks that the reptiles and those sorts of creatures are kept in, and it's a very artificial situation. And you're absolutely right. There is, we're now realizing that these awful LED lights. I mean, I've turned off our overhead lights here in this room because when I'm on the camera, I can actually see the flickering. And yeah, our animals would be even more sensitive to that. I know that certainly during the evening, we need to be having warm light, not not noisy LED, inferior quality light. We need to be going for the oranges and the warm light at horizontal level. The overhead lights are a big no-no, and yeah, it's quite possible that the adoption of LED, not looking at the quality of them, with that noisy flickering that we may not necessarily see, but they certainly would, could be it could certainly be contributing to our eye problems for sure. So I would encourage any any home to be conscious of the sort of lighting that they're using, certainly for later in the evening, and turning those overhead lights off, and just going with maybe, I don't know, salt lamps or very soft. It's difficult to get incandescent bulbs now, but I think you can get them if you shop around. There are some suppliers of high quality LED light, so it's not on at the moment, but this lamp, or this device behind me, is a what's called a light modulation system, which has totally clean, non-flickering light for anti-stress and for helping with brain function. And yeah, so it is possible to get better quality lights for the home these days, and our animals, you know, the thing is, Anna, that they're going to be sensitive to everything, aren't they? I mean, my daughter bought a piece of furniture this week. When she unwrapped it, it was the chemical smell, she said, that came off of it was awful. And it's not just the lights, it's the fire retardant chemicals that the UK still insist on. Within Europe, they're all banned, but the UK still insists on it all, and it's very, very toxic. So it's everything. It's not just the light.
I remember, actually, it was the year that Teddy came to live with us, but it was before he arrived. We ordered a mattress, and I can tell you that we had that mattress airing for over a month because it was impossible to sleep on it. It was such a strong, strong smell. So yes, what you're saying is right, and it's good to know that we can do something about lighting to make it more natural for our animals and ourselves. And of course, I think at this point, there is the added advice, which is go for walks with your dogs and
absolutely, yeah,
and spend time outdoors with whatever animals happen to be enriching your lives, because we will all benefit from being outdoors in the light. And thank you so much, Ruth, for introducing us to this extraordinary world of light and its benefits. If people want to find you, how do they do that?
Right, so our business as a distributor of probably the leading LED therapy device or photobiomodulating device is, you know, it doesn't relate to the actual name of the machine, and we've got a great community that know us as Photizo. That's PHOTIZO, and you can find our website by going to photizo.co.uk. Photizo is an ancient Greek word for to give light, I think. So yeah, so it's photizo.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'll be sure to be putting that link in the description box. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Teddy.
He's now decided he's having a lie down on the floor. And thank you all for watching. In the description box, you will also find a link to my Substack, in which you will find some stories about Teddy and Mummy adventures. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.